What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Brutal Planet Comics. I'm your host, Dre the Brute Daniels. Welcome to an episode of the Indie Corner, where I sit down with everybody from the independent communities, writers, artists, directors, producers. Doesn't matter if you're in the game, I want to talk to you. So today we got ourselves a very special guest. He is the director and owner of Warehouse 9 Production and is the creator of Bob, Non-Union Psychic. Can't wait to jump into things with this guy. Give it up, everybody, for Lance Lucero.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks a lot for having me on the show.
What is going on, my friend? How are you?
I've been doing good, even in these weird times. Just trying to keep going.
Weird times indeed. Weird times indeed. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for making the time to jump on with me and talk about all your excellent work. But before we get into all those juicy details of all your wonderful things, let's get to know you a little bit. So where you're from, how did we get here?
I'm Lance Lucero. I'm the owner-operator of Warehouse 9 Productions, which is basically film production and comic book creation. Film production in the way of shooting on real film, not HD.
Ooh.
Keeping things traditional, keeping the craft alive. And throwing together the Bob Non-Union Psychic book, which has been a work in progress for quite a few years. We're starting to make some good headway now in the indie market with the comic book and the films through Warehouse 9. And the journey's been long. It's been a long journey. It's taken decades, but it's, tenacity and hard-headedness just keeps you going, trying to hone your craft, trying to be the best you can. Throw out your material and say, hey, look, big studios, the big leagues, we're just as good.
Exactly.
You can look over here and be thoroughly entertained. Our entertainment is just as valuable.
Exactly.
So I wave that independence flag pretty hard and stick by my guns to try to create art and products that are extremely high dollar. Because sometimes there's a stigma attached to independence. Some people think it's low budget. Well, actually, it's really not. There's a lot of professional people out there that are working extremely hard to create a very good piece of art, entertainment, and product. And that's what I'm all about here at Warehouse 9 Productions. We're based out of Denver, Colorado. Great place to be. We're central, great light, great environment.
Nice.
Great
higher
people.
Elevation, so that I know that helps.
Yeah, you got to be fit. That's a great place. So in a nutshell, that's what I'm all about.
That's awesome, and it's so great to meet an independent director, which is really cool. Because I myself, I've dabbled in voice work and other things like that, and acting is a lot of fun. But sometimes when it comes to like being in the mainstream, sometimes, like you said, the stigma and around independent, like, oh, it's cheap or whatever. No, there's so much work and effort and professionalism and a cost that go into production. Even on a, if they want to consider a smaller market, it's a lot of work, and those people that are in the industry on that aspect, like yourself, definitely deserve a recognition for all the hard work that you guys are doing.
Yeah, we're trying hard to rise above, and initially that's the theme of Bob Non-Union Psychic. Non-union being a metaphor for kind of fighting against the gatekeepers, the studio heads, the agents, the publishers. It's a way of saying, well, does a person have to be juiced into a certain system to make it to the big leagues or to get recognition? And of course, that's not the truth. It's just how you hold yourself and how you put your art out to the world. So, that's something that I wrestled with for decades. And rather than wait to be accepted, rather than wait to have a studio or agent or publisher, which I actually have now for Bob Non-Union Psychic, it's one of those things of who's going to work with you, not who's going to be a gatekeeper to keep you out. It isn't selective. It isn't selective picking of the product. It's like, I have it. and it's commercial enough to be out to the world. It's just how do we get it out to the world at a bigger level? So, that's the theme. Kind of fighting against the gatekeepers, trying to say, look, I don't need to keep knocking on your door or putting material on your desk or having useless conversations that are going to get me nowhere when I can produce it and I can get it out to the world in a reasonable fashion.
Yeah. No, and that makes a whole lot of sense. And I also have that exact same notion. Lance, me and you, we're going to get along really well. Because I have that exact same feeling. Like, why should I sit around and wait for it to and have my future in somebody else's hands, or have the potential of my work of art actually being elevated by someone else, when I can just get down there, do the footwork, and get it done. And I have so much respect for everybody in independence that puts forth that kind of effort, because it's not easy. It's not easy. Not for one solitary second is it easy, but it is totally worth it to definitely have control of your own destiny.
Absolutely. And, and that's the point of Warehouse 9 Productions. It is a legitimate entity, it's a legitimate corporation. There are contracts involved, there are lawyers involved, there are copyrights involved. So I think even at an independent level, you have to take it to the next couple steps. You don't have to be represented, but you have to be professional. Exactly. And you have to show that you're professional. So, this is an important step, I think, for independence. And a lot of people, I think, are falling short. They're not protecting their work. They're not an entity. And when you approach another entity or corporation, they look at you a little differently if you have your ducks in order. Oh, you're legitimate. You know the legalities. You understand what we need to do to push something forward. So that's something too that I've been working on, building that brand for decades now.
Exactly. And I agree with you 110% in regards to especially the legalities. Like, before I started producing comics on my own and making my own production company, I made it my business. But my first thing I have on my wall here is my copyright of registration. That was my first order of business. Then I got all my trademarks and all other good stuff. Protect your work. It is so important. It is so very important. And a lot of folks, like you mentioned, from the independent community fall short of that. It's like there is a lot of legal ramifications in regards to your creative properties or intellectual properties, either way you want to throw it around. It's so very important. I'm so glad that you brought that up, and that is very, very important. And thank you for bringing that up to the forefront, Lance. Most definitely.
Yeah. It's an important thing that I think people need to realize. Sure, you can create a piece of art, entertainment, product, but if you don't have, your legalities in order, you're not going to get anywhere. People aren't going to take you serious. So I think there's also a separation in the independence world when it comes to that. There are a lot of people that are independent, but there are a lot of people that aren't independent entities. Exactly. They're just individuals, and they fall extremely short in the marketplace, and they do themselves a disservice if they're not prepared.
Exactly. Absolutely right. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So how did you end up transitioning into the comic industry? How did you end up transitioning into that?
Well, Bob Non-Union Psychic it started off as a screenplay. So it was a movie. It was supposed to be a movie, and it landed on, once again, the table of a couple of big studios going back 22 years ago.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yes. So when I was making a feature film called Hunting for Fish, I was a little bit more juiced into the industry at the time. And I was able to maneuver this screenplay to certain entities. I was killed with kindness. It's fantastic. It's great. It's too expensive. We can't do it. Oh, this is an awesome piece of material, but who are you? Who represents you? How old are you? I was pretty young. All the usual roadblocks, but in a very nice way. And I was like, okay, I got the time of day on this, so I guess I don't suck, and I have something here. So, as time went on, I thought, okay, how am I going to be able to produce something of this magnitude at an independent level? I don't think I can. It is astronomical in the film world. And then I have a buddy of mine, an old writing colleague, Adam Voley, who was writing comic books. He understood the process where I didn't. So I contacted him and I said, hey man, you've already had some stuff published. You're really a genius writer. We need to do something. So we kicked some ideas around, some screenplays we actually worked on quite a few years ago. That's probably now the mid 2000s. And nothing came about. And then about 5-6 years ago, I reconnected with him and said, we need to revisit this. There's a market out there that's actually up and coming, and it's really cool. I think it's going to be more economically feasible for us at this time. So he agreed, but we didn't know what to do. And then I said, I got this radical screenplay. Let me just throw it at you and see what you think. And he was like, no, this is the one we have to do. It's got the right character elements. It has the right pacing. It has everything you can do visually. So we basically condensed the Bob Non-Union Psychic screenplay down to one introduction episode, which is the book 0 that's in the Big Book of Bob. And we said, okay, here's our story. Let's just cram it down into 30 pages and put all the most important elements in there and design the look. So that's how we went about it. And we released it digitally, and it was a pretty big hit. We got a lot of good reviews, a lot of good response. And the idea was, well, should we continue with the screenplay, or should we continue doing 2 more one-shots to create a trilogy? So that's the route we decided to go, using the elements from the first screenplay from now 22 years ago. So at that point, the screenplay was already, like 15, 14 years old. And I thought, okay, it's not going to get made at a big theatrical level. So let's make it really big in a comic book level. Let's really make it as grand as we possibly can. So the roadmap was there. The roadmap was set. The designs were there conceptually on paper in a screenplay form. The characters, storylines, all of it was there. So we basically didn't have too hard of a time adapting it to a comic book format. We kind of started to design our own screenplay format for the art to give to the illustrators. We created a pretty good roadmap to the page. So, we worked pretty hard on it, but the story elements were there. And the metaphor was there too, independence. That's part of what the character is. Does he need the psychic union to be a star if he has the talent to make a living? Should he give up his other professions, being a hairstylist, just because he's going to get into a system? And the idea is no, you don't. You can still be independent, have your own brand, your own logos, your own entity, and succeed. It's not going to be easy, but I think the rewards are plentiful when you have control. So that's what it was all about. Okay. It was meant to be a movie, but I'm perfectly happy that it's a great graphic novel. And having said that, we are right now in production on the first film spin-off of Bob Non-Union Psychic.
Congratulations on that. That's tremendous. You leapfrog my next question, but that's all good. I'll take that. I'll take that for sure. But yeah, man, that's tremendous. That you're taking what was once denied, made it into something beautiful, and then re-upping what was once denied many moons ago. That is dope. That's an origin story. I like that. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So with that in mind, you touched on it a touch about Bob the Non-Union Psychic. What is the story arc behind this series? Now you touched on like the idea of independence, the idea of doing his own thing and being able to have his own life in his own control. But what about the story arc? Like what are folks being invested in as far as the story is concerned?
Well, I think that it's when you look at basically a superhero small business owner, it's more relatable. Bob being a very, very powerful psychic, not in the way of being able to manipulate the whole planet or people, but just being, extra in tune with his environment, being able to see more than people see, be able to use his own positive energy better than most people can. It's like the idea of a psychic vampire. It's an extreme term, but when you walk into a room, there are those people that just want to suck the life out of you.
Absolutely, succubus. Yeah.
Yes, they just want to drain your energy, and Bob has a way of being able to push that back. He has developed his psychic shield to the point where even within the paranormal world, bad energy, he can fight it. And he comes from a long line of paranormal adventurers. We're talking 1,000 years. His lineage goes back, and now he's at the point where his great grandfather, who was a really big badass in his day, is trying to promote him to say, look, maybe you should lean towards the psychic union. These guys will take care of you. You get juiced into this system, you're going to be a star. You're going to be traveling the planet. You're going to be fighting paranormal entities that you couldn't even imagine. And is he ready for that? He's kind of like, well, I got my barber's license, I'm a hairstylist, I have a business, I'm making a living, and I like it. Why do I need to do something that can potentially kill me? But that's the adventure in his old school great grandfather. It's like, hey, you gotta try, at least try, take on some clients or do something to see if you really have what it takes. And we find out he does, and he does apply for the psychic union. He does apply for it, and he is interviewed. And then things go horribly wrong, and he's rejected. But is that rejection devastating? No, it's not. He can still be independent. He still has his barbershop. He still has a clientele. So relatability is what I was after, and picking a profession for your superhero is difficult, especially when we look at all the average tropes and cliches of big name characters today. Love them, sure, they're great, but Bob doesn't have a Batcave. He's not a billionaire that has everything at his disposal. He's a small business owner, so he has to make do. He doesn't have a fortress of solitude, with computers and everything to help him. He has to go to a bookstore that is owned by his cousin to research what is happening. Old school. Independence. So once again, we're driving the independence factor forward in the way, hey, look, if you want to be creative with your character, I don't think at this point, after 80, 90 years plus of comic books, we should be following the same tropes.
I agree.
It's stale. And no matter how much I love a comic book character, there are a lot of things that are stale to me now. And I wanted to avoid that, creating Bob ages ago. And when we got into the comic book, same thing. This is a guy that's make or break. If he loses his business, he's on the road.
Yeah.
He picks up his barber kit and he's on the road like a comedian. Is a comedian going to waste his time not getting that big show on TV? No, they hit the road.
Yep.
They hit those clubs.
Yep.
So that's what's the story. The story arc behind Bob is that development.
Gotcha.
And getting to the point where his confidence is, I can do this. So he is thrown into the fire. He's thrown in the deep end in the first issue, and not really realizing it, but there's a lot at stake. Does he prevail? Yes and no. I mean, the title speaks for itself.
Yeah.
He doesn't get into the union.
Yeah.
So in a sense, throughout the rest of the series, they are rivals,
Lance,
but yet
Lance, let me pause you for a hot second. I couldn't help but notice the comparisons between Bob and your own journey. Is there a bit of a self-insert here somewhere, kind of?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you take the highs with the lows, without the right representation, without being in the right location, without selling your soul. Sometimes you're not going to get juiced into a certain situation. And why should you do that? That's same with Bob. He's been pressured, and he tried. But the point is because he was rejected, does that not mean you should still not try to succeed? Now, my story is the same as every independent out there. It's really not different. It's just how you articulate it into your work.
Exactly. And I like that. And I love a good self-insert. I love a good self-insert because if it's done well, you can literally see how someone's journey parallels to their character, and how someone else that might be in your shoes right now can see what that's like, what that feels like. They can, like you mentioned before, relatability. And looking at how your character is built up around Bob and him trying to get into this union, and that union can represent anything in life. It can
Anything, yes.
anything. And to see how like he was rejected and now he has to build on his own. Anybody can relate to that, whether it's in movies or a fast food chain, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like it's so relatable, and it really touches the soul. I think you got something gold on your hands there, Lance. That's pretty dope. It's pretty dope. So on that topic, so what are you working on currently in regards to maybe Bob or other things?
Well, we have written 3 more episodes of Bob. So we have another trilogy ready to go. And we also have a spin-off. I've created the Maya Theater Troupe, which is actually, we're going back in time, probably a good 50 years. And we are going to start to dabble into the great-grandfather's story.
Oh.
How he came about. So we did a complete different spin-off on that. And I wanted to show these paranormal adventurers as basically the Beatles of the paranormal world. They're the biggest thing on the planet, but they're not necessarily the best people to be involved with because of their arrogance and their showboating and their indulgenceness. So I spun that off. So we have 3 episodes ready, and then I did the Maya Theater Troupe, which is like now a bonus episode. So I may continue with that as well. So we have 4 books ready to go, but we haven't gone into production yet.
Okay.
And then now currently in the film world, we have Coiffier Extraordinaire waiting for Legros. So this is the 3rd installment in the film series of the Legros series. Now Legros is basically, he's in book number 1. He's an actual real hairstylist from the 1700s, a French hairstylist of the French court. We interpreted him in book 1 historically, and now we're doing the offshoot of him in film right now.
Okay.
So that film we finally wrapped shooting in November, but it has taken about 1.5 years because it's 17th century France, and I'm doing that here in Colorado.
That'll do it.
We have miniatures. We have we're rephotographing photographs. We have puppets. We have green screen. We have live action. We're pulling out all the stops to this. Total Jim Henson, Terry Gilliam.
That's
stuff,
awesome. That is
paper
awesome.
cutouts. Yeah, we're doing all this, and it is a spin-off of the Bob books.
Okay, that is dope. I like that. I like all of that. Yeah, y'all cooking with fire over there. I like that. That's awesome. That's awesome, brother. So, in regards to Bob and all your other work, where can everybody find your stuff?
Warehouse9pro.com is the website. That's the main drop. You can go there and find out the latest of everything. That's comic book and films. It also links to the buy page, the ne1world.com. The book is published by ASAP Comics UK. So, we have easy links that'll push you everywhere. You can find the book in hardcover. I'm really pleased that this is a nice hardcover book.
That came out really well.
It came out very nice. The printing is awesome. Everything looks great. And you can also get a paperback.
Hey.
So it's nice to finally have the product in your hand rather than on a digital file. The digital files look great, but the book itself, this was a long, long time coming. And that's all, I tip my hat to ASAP Comics UK, Paul Hayden. He helped me take this to the next level.
Yeah. It's nothing like holding it in your hands. It's nothing like it.
Absolutely. So this is a pretty good achievement.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is awesome. So I'm going to leave all those links in the description section below. Check out Lance Lucero's amazing work, and everybody at Warehouse 9 Productions. They are doing amazing things. so amazing, I might have to send my resume their way. So they're doing a lot of good stuff. Once again, I got to thank my buddy Lance Lucero for coming on the Indie Corner and sharing all this amazing work. Thank you so much, my friend, for coming on through here.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is great.
Absolutely, absolutely. So once again, everybody, that is Lance Lucero. Follow him on all his social media platforms. I will also leave those in the description section below. This has been the Indie Corner, and of course, you already know who I am. I am Dre the Root Daniels, and follow me on all my dope social media platforms that you'll see right under my face. They're not there now, but they'll be right there, at TheBrute00 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and if I'm dropping a TikTok, definitely holla at me there as well. This has been the Indie Corner. You all have been awesome, and I'll catch you all next time. Also, if you want to support my channel, check out spinwiz.com or download the Spinwiz app and check out my comic series, Trouble. It was written with a lot of love, and it was definitely my favorite comic series to write. I've also written it in English and in Spanish, so whatever floats your boat, I got it for you. Thanks again, and check it out.